Hey everybody, what's going on? How are you? It's good to see you, and it's good to be seen by you. There is nothing special happening right now. We are just hanging out this evening on a Thursday. I'm just kicking back. I was busy this evening and got tied up with stuff, so I didn't even have time to do things properly. So what happens? Like if you saw a notification for he's going live at 11:05 tomorrow morning. Um, Here's the thing: when you schedule stuff in StreamYard and you say this is for the future, it rolls the clock start time 2 hours from when it is now. So if you say I'm going to stream in the future and it's 8 o'clock, it'll say, okay, I'll set your start time for 2 hours from now. You can adjust it. That's fine. But here's the thing. I started at I just like 10:15, 11:15, whenever I put the notification up. And StreamYard, when I went in and did the scheduling, said, "Oh, I got you, boss. So 2 hours from now." Well, no, not 2 hours from now, because that would have been after midnight, technically the morning. You see where I'm going with this? So I went in and I said, no, 11 o'clock or 11:05, whenever I did, to give myself a little bit of breathing room. So I set that, but it didn't roll the AM back to PM. It left everything, or I was able to put everything, but the PM didn't roll back when I changed the time from yesterday to today. So it is all good. It is all good. So yeah, that's what was going on. But anyway, computers and their silly logical ways. Yeah. Here's the news. It's all you, GR. How are you? Good to see you. But anyway, no, I'm just hanging out. I just wanted to just wanted to sit back with you guys and chill out and relax and have a good time and say hello. And if you're new here and if you're wondering what we do, most of the time we talk classic tabletop role-playing games. Some of the time, like right now, we just hang out and have a good time, which is what I'm doing. I did take a break earlier this evening. I was writing, and Death Angels, can you be new? Don't do that, please, because that will, you'll unsubscribe and then resubscribe, won't you? Attempt at an import into a PR store. Don't know what that is. Command Post Gaming. Good to see you. But anyway, speaking of computers, I got okay. Third attempt at an import into a PR store. Is that a computer thing? Because I'm getting to a computer related thing. You guys saw when I got all the stuff. I sold off a huge stack of computer game strategy guides that my father-in-law gave me, and a huge stack of Xbox 360 games, and a little bit of a stack of PlayStation 2 games. But in and amongst the stuff he gave me was a Sony PSP. Now, I was fascinated by that gadget because as far as I knew, that was the first optical disc based portable gaming console. And Sony went hard in the paint with that thing. They went hard in the paint with a PSP. They did a limited release of movies on what they called a UMD, and UMD is like a 1.9 gigabyte DVD, but it's shaved down to about the size of a silver dollar. And then it's in like the later PSPs, it's in a little plastic shell. I've got some over there that I should have brought over because I was going to talk about those. But the when it came, I don't know if it skips. I honestly don't. I'm tempted to track down a movie just to see how just to see how the fidelity of it is. I'm guessing it's a 480p screen. But anyway, when I took it out of its shell, it came in a thick protective shell, third party that my father-in-law had bought. So I pop it out of its shell and I turn it over on its back and I was like, oh, the battery door is open. Well, no, the battery door wasn't open. Taking it out of its shell allowed the battery door to spring free because the battery was a spicy pillow. So I'll need to get that scene too and get the 5-volt or whatever it is AC converter doohickey so I can charge it. But yeah, I've got it and I'm dying to play with it. I'm gonna pimp it out. I'm gonna get because it uses Sony's stupid proprietary memory stick format. But there are like ultra cheap SD card to memory stick converters, and 128 gig SD card is just, they cost nothing these days. They're like $9.99 at Target or something ridiculous like that. No, it didn't. It didn't leak. I mean, it's a Li-ion battery. So I got to be super careful with it. Like, I have it sitting inside a coffee mug, which is sitting in the middle of a part of the floor in my studio where it can't touch anything. Like if it pops and flares up, because lithium, the lithium hydride in those batteries burns on contact with air. If you don't believe me, go look at YouTube videos. It do that. So the battery is in a coffee mug because, coffee mug is 1/2 inch thick on the bottom, 1/4 inch thick all the way around. It's not sitting where it could flare up. So if it decides to do something nasty, I can just pick it up and carry it outside and set it on the sidewalk. But no, I've got the PSP and I'm keen to play with it. I may be one of those people who does I like go full on soft mod it so I can run, MAME and homebrew and all that jazz and mataz just because I can. I'll install Linux on it and make it into my daily driver computer. Pardon me. I have Ubuntu installed here because that's convenient, using a game console with no form of keyboard input whatsoever. I get it that it's a point of geek pride for Linux users to get Linux up and running on everything they can. That I understand. I understand the geek pride behind it. Don't get me wrong. But the just because we can, you should mentality, like, what was it? Back in the early 2000s, there was the Linux on GameCube, and they actually considered themselves a foundation. Linux on GameCube Foundation. There's millions of GameCubes. If you install Linux, you've got a perfectly good Linux computer. You just need a keyboard and mouse adapter and a network adapter. So, and know your way around Linux and so on and etc. And settle for all the hardware limitations that a GameCube has. I just, it's neat, don't get me wrong. And I'm certainly not one of those people that's going to be like, Linux is my daily driver on my PC. No, thank you, Microsoft. Look, I hate Microsoft too. But I mean, at this point, it's like hating gas companies. Having a car and hating gas companies. You could buy an electric car, thank you. You could take public transportation. Oh, that's a shame, Damien. Well, to be fair, it is in early access, so hopefully that's something they're fixing. People are like, I do not pay the Microsoft tax. I buy a Windows key from a third party, like $12, and you can run Windows and not have to jump through hoops. But let me just say this, and I've said this for years. Linux is free if your time has no value. Linux is free if your time has no value whatsoever to you. That goes up. Errol Otis painting of 4th and 31. Think of the tentacles. I like that. I like that, Luther. You and I have been at loggerheads before, but that, sir, is genius. I love it. I love it. And the other thing was, I'm like, yeah, well, I don't want to give up PC gaming. Well, you can run your games through Wine, or you can dual boot. It just, it's supposed to be this open and free environment, but it's, you get between me and my computer. And Linux are like, no one should run their computers in admin space, and that's all Windows is, just running in admin space. Don't get between me and my computer. And I appreciate its power and what it's capable of, but there's just, and I remember I was on a call. I was on a writer's discussion call, IT writing discussion call, and this guy was extolling the virtues of, well, we should do an article about pushing Linux into the broader office space. And I asked him, I'm like, what's the end game? All office spaces consist of people who already work there. And if you open an office space and you say that you're looking for qualified people, you say you're looking for qualified people. I mean, they've lived in the Windows environment forever. And the net result of that is, well, we can train them up. We can train them up. And we can do all this stuff to make people understand Linux. You're kneecapping people who don't know their way around OpenOffice. And I'm sorry, OpenOffice is not, it's just like Microsoft Office. No, it's not. It surely isn't. For a while, I didn't have a copy of Microsoft Office that worked. I'm not going to launch into the specifics of it. I have a fully paid for copy of Microsoft Office 2007 Enterprise now. Fully paid for. Legitimate key. But the best workaround we could have here at the house was, I was like, okay, I'll get OpenOffice. And I told my wife, I'm like, I understand that this is just like Microsoft Office. The writing program is just like Word and so on and etc. 30 minutes in, and she's like, how in the hell is this supposed to be like Office? It's a word processor. That's where the like ends. So yeah, it's complex. I don't hate Linux. I appreciate its power. It's the evangelism. But you know what? Let's go back to RPG talk a little bit. Let's talk about RPG a little bit. When I sit down and I talk about, doing stuff on computer, and someone gets in my face and gets evangelical about, why don't you just use Linux? Why don't you just use Linux and OpenOffice? Wine can do all of your silly little games, but for serious and so on and etc. It grates on me as much as people saying, why don't you just use Osric instead of AD&D? The language is clearer and the books are free and so on and etc. So yeah, it's that's just kind of have that on the same playing field. Although I will say that, unlike Windows, first edition AD&D is a joy to use that brings many rich features and lots of enjoyment to my life. CPG says, my Enterprise 2007 is fully paid for, as far as I know. That was a funny bit of history. 2007, as far as I know, 2007, now somebody's going to pop up and say like, oh no, 2013 or something like that. But as far as I know, Office Enterprise 2007 was the last one. Death Angels, my man. Was the last one that you got physical media for. And that irritated a lot of people. Well, Microsoft said, we're discontinuing support. And discontinuing support means we're turning off authentication servers. And so for a couple of years, even if you had a shiny copy of Office 2007, you couldn't install it. Because the minute you fired it up, it's like, authorize me, fat boy. And it hit me too. And I was just like, crap. Okay, how do I dig the... so many videos, so much malware. Like, How do I dig the off key out of Windows to port it to another machine? It's like, download this totally legitimate app to do that. Yeah, I'm not. No. Let me download that on a VM. Oh, look, compromised. But apparently there were enough government agencies and big corporations that leaned on Microsoft and said, turn your off servers for 2007 back on now. That at least the last time I checked, they did that. They switched them back on. But that's enough about computers and so on. Like I said, I have the PSP. No, I'm not going to soft mod it to install and run Linux, but I am going to enjoy the heck out of it. I'm going to have to find some good games for it. So all my father-in-law played on it were JRPGs, Japanese role-playing games, which are not my forte. So I'll have to see if there's some good games for it. Because it was its own little ecosystem. It was right at that. Well, I mean, consoles are always their own ecosystem. Companies, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, hate for you to do stuff with your console. They don't want you to run emulators. They don't want you to have fun with your console. But that's another talk. Speaking of TTRPGs, Gary Gygax's The Hermit has 7 days left on Kickstarter. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's over it's Troll Lord Games. Yeah, that's an interesting thing of them wringing money out of that, but the Gygax IP. I sure would like it if they'd reach out to me and ask me about the Lost Crypt, or not Lost Crypt, Teeth of the Barkesh Nor. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Well, they got permission from the court. So let me tell you the inside baseball on that, Death Angels, and everyone else. Because of various issues going on with the Gygax estate, to settle the whole matter, and probate is an ugly thing. Probate is an ugly, ugly thing. The courts stepped up and said, here's what we're going to do. This is how we're going to divide up the Gygax estate, which in my opinion was not right for reasons I'm not going to go into right now. But they said, first, these court-appointed administrators and attorneys all have to get paid before anything else. That's why Paul launched all the auctions of Gygaxania. And the trolls stepped up and said, we were making money for Gary too. And so the court said, fine, you can print stuff, but all of your profits from it are going to pay the court until the court is paid. And the amount of money we're talking about is it's right around, I think it was $78,000, something like that, maybe more. But it was a significant, the total amount they want is like 1.5% of 10% of $100 million that the court has decided Gary's estate was worth at Gary's passing. So until the court gets all that money, nobody gets any. Because they want all those court fees paid. So the net result is that TLG is in is in there swinging and selling stuff. And the funny thing is, at the time of Gary's passing, he had made something like $3,000 from Trollord Games. Not from Trollord Games. I don't want to cast aspersions like I'm slagging TLG. I'm not. I'm just talking about the way things are. You know, small press. And just how it is. And so when the courts said, you guys were making money with this stuff, we authorize you to start reprinting it and selling it, but that money comes back to us. And so that's what Trollord has going on right now. And the net result of that is that, as far as I know, that until that court debt's paid off, that's where all that money's going. Yes, Steve. Obviously, that's correct. I mean, you know, they do have to get separate permission. I'm sure they'll be just as speedy as they are, as they can be about getting that sort of stuff taken care of. I am. Yeah, my last interaction with Steve Chenault was not great. Again, I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just relating. But I think he's probably a decent guy. The real money that's paying off the court is what Paul's making. Because you guys wouldn't believe the offers Paul's getting for some of Gary's notes. And I'm just going to tell y'all, this may make you cry. This may make you tear your hair out in frustration. Just shake your heads. Now, I haven't seen any of it. I don't know any of it. I don't know a thing. I know names and topics. There's stuff that's going to go in the vaults of true collectors that you and I are never going to see, and it would blow your mind if you're a fan of Greyhawk and OD&D and AD&D. It's just, we're never going to get to see it. It's going to get put in an envelope and put in a vault. And that's the end of it. And it's a damn shame. But that's what the court has done. There were so many opportunities that were never acted on. So make of that what you will. Make of that what you will, guys. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you that there was out there some, some crazy rich person. It is GR. Hey, Dave Mills, what's up? I wish I could tell you there's some crazy rich person out there with money to burn who's gonna approach Wizards of the Coast and say, hey, I bought all this stuff, or I bought some of this stuff. Why don't we publish it? But I know how a lot of the collecting crowd is. They'll hoard this stuff and be happy that the common man doesn't get to see it. That's why I say, guys, when it comes to unobtainium, If you're out there and you're Googling deep enough, your Google foo is good enough, and you lay your hands on one of those limited number handed out to the individual DMs at Origins 1980 copies of Lost Caverns of Sojkonth or Lost Temicon or Ghost Tower of Inverness. You find one, download it. This shit's not coming to drive through. You're not taking money from Alan Hammock or Jeff Leeson or the Gygax estate for that much. Because I guarantee you the people with physical copies ain't going to let you see one. To quote George Carlin, it's a real small club, and you and me ain't in it. Actually, he said, and you ain't in it. Because Carlin was a fairly well-off entertainer. He was in it. Your Google foo is Hong Kong foo. You just got to know what to do. You just got to know what to look for. Hey, Anon. Good to see you. I don't know the answer to that question, Vaughn. I don't. I know that any income is going to the courts right now. Like 100%. Like there is no Gygax cut for Heidi, Elsie, Luke, Cindy, Alex, Ernie. Not right now, not until the court's paid off. After that, don't know. I wish it were different, guys. I legitimately wish it were different. I would love to wake up tomorrow. My wife, say, wake up, babe. What are you talking about? TSR is still owned by Gary Gygax. Hey, 4 months already. Happy anniversary, Death Angels. 4 months. Oh, speaking of, by the way, if you'd like to support the show, you can support us on Patreon. The Patreon link is right down there. The crab's pointing to it for you. You can also support the show via YouTube membership, which is either linked over here or over here. And with a YouTube membership, for as little as $1.99 a month or $1 over on Patreon, if you're watching the bottom line, particularly during the holidays. Hello, Praxis. But yeah, if you're watching the bottom line, it's only $1 a month over on Patreon. But guess what? At the $10 level, every month you get a free first edition advanced Dungeons and Dragons adventure module from me. That's right. Well, so they're short. They're kind of short. But I just posted up tonight's or this month's November's tonight. DM'd last night, played tonight, DMing Friday and Saturday. That is awesome. That is awesome. I love hearing that, John. That's the kind of positivity, man. That's the kind of positivity. Love to hear it, my friend. Good for you. That is a lot of AD&D or OD&D. We don't discriminate. I love both versions of Dungeons and Dragons, original D&D and first edition advanced D&D. They're both good. I don't discriminate. I'm a reasonable guy. CPG says, oh, Death Angels, I see you. I see you, man. Exactly, CPG. Both kinds, country and Western. That's the film. I saw that you upped your Patreon, but the question is, are you going to drop your YouTube membership? It'll be easier. It'll be easier. And you know what? You're in under the wire. I will send you the link to November. I will send you the link to the November module. First time D&D show in Poland, old time before I'm born, before Soviet Poland in. First time hear about that game from my dad. Oh, okay. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I gotta try and get Lux on the show one day, even if I have to like do like an afternoon or a canned interview. A top 10. I'll bring you a top 10 list in just a few minutes, Dave. I mean, Poland. Wow, that's wild. Okay, so there's a game, and here in the U.S., like we had a very keyhole view of Poland in the 80s. Like the Pope was from there, and Lech Walesa and Solidarity, right? But I mean, I guess the 10,000-foot view for most of us was Poland was on the other side of the Iron Curtain. And I think, unfortunately, that was the mindset of a lot of people because this... Can I do this without damaging anything? No, I can't, so I'm not even going to try. There's an RPG, and I've waxed poetic about it for a long time, called Twilight 2000. And Twilight 2000, if you don't know about it, it's set in an alternate future of the 90s where the Cold War did not end in 1990. The game was written in the 80s. And the idea was that by the late 1990s, the USSR and China are in like a full shooting war. And so they start stripping divisions out of their Warsaw Pact countries to go to the bigger war in China. And they basically turn around and say, okay, East Germany, Romania, Lithuania. Well, no, Lithuania was part of the USSR. Romania, Czechoslovakia, you're gonna pay the socialist toll, and we're gonna start bringing we're gonna send divisions over. So the in the game, NATO sees like Eastern Europe empty out, and the East Germans go to the West Germans in secret, and they're like, we don't want to send our boys to die in China. Help us out. Invade. So they do. So now the Soviets are fighting a war on two fronts. Long story short, the East and the West have a limited nuclear exchange that wrecks just about everything. But the game starts, as the title implies, in the year 2000, with the armies still beating each other to pieces. And yeah, finally got a Discord. They kind of beat each other to pieces, and the Poles, you play as NATO forces, and the Poles are always listed like under enemy forces. And I think if the guys writing the game had done their homework better, they would have realized that it probably would have been the Poles before the Germans who went to NATO and said, look, help us throw these MFers out. There wouldn't be a Twilight 2000 that worked out the way that it worked out. Because honestly, I think at that point, most of Eastern Europe would have said, you know what? Nah, babe. No. But anyway, Lux Gabor is a guy who was on the show, and he's a He's from Eastern Europe, and he talked about RPGs growing up because he's about my age, and in his country, I want to say it was Romania. I could be wrong. I'm sorry, or maybe it was Hungary, Czechoslovakia. I don't remember, but he said that his country's like educational ministry, entertainment ministry that basically censored stuff coming from the West, books and so on. They took one look at tabletop role-playing games in the 80s and said, our kids aren't even going to understand this, so we're not importing it. Had nothing to do with dreaded capitalist values. They just figured that the average kid wasn't smart enough, or that's what he told me. That's what he told me. I don't do the story justice. I don't do the story justice. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. But your magazine translated it. That is cool. That is super. Scroll back up through the comments, John. You'll see the link. Gosh, that's really cool. So they just straight up pirated AD&D and published it in a fantasy science fiction magazine in Poland in the 80s. That is kickin' rad. That is awesome. Yeah, there's so many ways. Like, it's so here's a fun one. This is more of a Soviet thing, or maybe you heard about this being in Poland. But there was there was like in the 70s, maybe in the 80s, pirated records. You could get pirated records in the USSR, you know, all kind of Western, samizdat, I think is that the right term? But the records would be pressed on old X-rays, the thick vinyl film for X-rays. They would take it to friends who worked in record factories and press pirated records onto the old X-rays. So you might, I mean, that is pretty badass. I mean, imagine having like a chest X-ray on your copy of your pirated copy of Sex Pistols, Anarchy in the UK, or something like that, you know? Man, Anon, this is so cool. Bro, do me a favor, Anon. Right in the scroll across the bottom, you'll see my email address where it says PayPal Direct. That's just an email address. Will you shoot me an email real quick, please? Can you shoot me an email? I would love to talk to you. It wouldn't even have to be on stream, just about that level of RPG scene. That is fascinating to me. Because I mean, you know, here in the West, it's like, you know, going to you know, your parents take you to Kmart and get you a copy of basic D&D, and to the toy store or hobby shop for advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You know, and there's your dice by the cash register and your lead figures, but you guys, that's hardcore, brother. And I mean, that could not have been easy. Gary was a very verbose dude, and used a lot of, on purpose, used a lot of out of date words like oh, where's of course it's not sitting around here. But there's a book that Gary pulled a lot of his verbiage out of, and we've talked about it on the show before. I bought a new copy. It's called oh no, that's fine, dude. That's fine. But I mean, hey, maybe you can talk to him and be my go-between, right, brother? But no, pop lollies and belly bones, and it's where Gary like picked up a lot of old English words. That must have been a chore, like Dwemercraft. You know, Gary talking about Dwemercraft. Dwemercraft is just like sorcery or magic use, right? I would not hate to talk to you or even him again about that. That's Magnificent Devil. I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong, man. See, and I gotta say, in the larger sense, guys, stuff like this, like Anon here, just straight up saying, "Yeah, this was the RPG scene in Poland." Like, where else are you going to get that? You know, you're not going to pick up that shit on D&D Beyond, or Critical Role, or any of that. You know, 50 million subscribers, guys making $10 million a year doing that. And Anon came here to talk to us about it. Thank you, Nosarian. Thank you. That is fascinating, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that. I mean, dang, dude. You still have a sci-fi party, the party name PeerCon. We play TTRPG there. That's great. I would argue that, Dave, that the best literature came out. The best literature comes out of nowhere. The best literature comes from everywhere, because you shouldn't look at one place as being superior to another. I mean, I bet there's some Japanese. I'm not talking about manga and anime. I bet there's some Japanese sci-fi that would just blow our socks off. And let me tell you what, you want to read something poetic and flowing? Read the official Ethiopian account of driving out the Italians in the 30s. Unless it's Jersey. Krakow bar with tabletop RPG books. That's it. Okay, if I play Twilight 2000 in the future, you guys are safe. I don't know what is, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to, in my Twilight 2000 canon, Poland sides with NATO. That's just how it is. That's awesome, man. That's great. The hinterland with a nice bill. I'm always nice, Bill. I'm always nice, Bill. I'm never not nice, Bill. I invite you guys into my home. We hang out. We have a good time. Tune. There's a game. Toonlight 2000. Happier with a wizard hat on. I get cranky. I get passionate about stuff from time to time. Hey, I got your email. Anon. Thank you. Thank you very much, brother. I'm saying, brother, you could be a chick. I don't know. I have your mail now. Thank you. So there's a Anon. What is the guy to girl gamer ratio like in Poland? Tell me. You're our impromptu guest for the late night show. Oh, somebody wanted a top 10 list, a Letterman-esque top 10 list. I don't know. I would need like stuff up on the screen because, like, you know. Dave wants a top 10. 98 to 2. Yeah, I get it. Okay. I think there's definitely room for a tabletop simulator. I'm going sideways though. In the new year, we're going to be seeing a lot more Dwarven Forge in the D&D games. Yeah, okay, so in the 90s, like I remember reading computer magazines, the C64 was huge in Poland in the 90s. It's like just before they imploded because of all the crap that went on with the Amiga and trying to be a PC company, Commodore could not make C64s fast enough for Poland. Michael Merteg, greetings. Hello. Hi, how are you? Hi. That's fascinating. That's very cool, my dude. Okay, Anon, what's your favorite snack when you game? Because my co-host, Kyle Schuant, my Wednesday night co-host, will tell you straight up, the importance is people, snacks, setting, and system in a role-playing game. So the people you game with, the snack you have, what kind of world you're gaming in, and what kind of rules you use in that order. Okay, so let's see. Top 10 spells that you really shouldn't use in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Number 10. Imagine I'm holding a blue card. Number 10, Meteor Swarm. Meteor Swarm, Paul. Meteor Swarm. Number 9, Cylons, 15-foot radius. Cylons, they get the red light. Number 8, Find and Locate Pants. Find and locate. A good ham sandwich. There you go, my friend. Number 7, Anime Dead. Spell number 7. Not allowed, Paul. Anime Dead. Number 6, power word micturate. Whew. Number 5, transmute rock to stone. Not so much banned as useless. Number 4, Big B's obscene gesture. That's a little, some of that, Paul, right there. We're doing the top 10. We're doing a Letterman-esque top 10. I should just start doing a top 10. No, I'm doing a Letterman bit. Number 3, spell number 3 of top 10 disallowed spells. Spell number 3, asswall. Asswall. Number 2. Number 2, disallowed spells. Harm a person. And the number one spell, as tabulated by our home office in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, the number 1 disallowed spell, magic mouth. And if you know, you know. Now, Anon, I completely understand where you're coming from. So I tried for a few semesters to learn Spanish. That's very useful to learn here in Florida because, we have a lot of folks coming from the Caribbean into the state and up from Mexico into Texas, across the Gulf in here. Thank you, Kabuki. Yes. But our Spanish teachers would get on us about that. Don't try to translate Spanish to English in your head and then just learn to think in Spanish. Well, I can't do that now, can I? If I could think in Spanish, I could speak Spanish and I wouldn't need your class. Of course I have to translate Spanish back and forth in my head. Oh my gosh. Hey-o, Vaughn Gifford. Hey-o. It's crazy. It's totally crazy, Dave. You're wild, man. You're completely unhinged, Dave. Man, I loved Letterman. I don't know. I liked the much cozier feel of his set on NBC. Like, I liked that set. Maybe it was actually gigantic and cavernous, but that set was like, it seemed like this, I heard about that and it sounded, I don't know how I feel about that. You know what I want you to do? Just kick my ass. Just kick my ass right now. Please. So what we're going on about, Anon, I feel like, I don't know if you would know who this guy is because, Western TV probably means sweet FA to you, but David Letterman was a talk show host, like a variety talk show host. Like, guests come on and they'd chit chat, musicians, actors, and he did comedic bits during the whole show, and one of them was the top 10 list, and it'd be 10 silly things compiled by our home office, and they'd name some ridiculous tiny small town off in the American Midwest. But it was really entertaining in the 80s. And even into the 90s. He was really, really entertaining. You don't know about that guy? Was it 12:30? Yeah, no, that makes sense, because you'd have your local news would start at 11 and go to 11:30, and then Carson would start, and Carson's show was an hour. Yeah. A top 10. Maybe I can do that on Fridays. Maybe I can start doing that. Can start doing that in the new year. Figure out how to do like a little reveal thing on the screen so you guys can see it too. So I don't have to like quickly type in some of the jokes, like meteor swarm, not meteor swarm, but meteor swarm. I can do something like that. Was it an hour and a half? No, Carson wasn't 90 minutes. No. The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson was an hour. Yeah, the Johnny Carson show, man. If you like stand-up comics, it was Carson. Letterman would have edgier stuff on. I remember when Letterman had Bill. Oh, I've gone blank. Died from pancreatic cancer. He blamed Dennis Leary for stealing all of his material. Bill Hicks. Letterman had Bill Hicks on, and you could see the jump cuts that the TV execs made them put in that. Like he came out, he did two jokes, and it hard jump cut to nervous laughter and him taking a bow and then everybody clapping. And yeah. Yes, someone said Star Trek, Jack. Yeah, Chris Elliott. Elliott was on there. Man from Star Trek? You mean this? That's right. This old, bold man. I think you're talking about Picard. No, we only talk about classic Star Trek here. 1960s Star Trek here. People are, I'm like, hey, who's your favorite Star Trek character? Lieutenant Smergelgersh from Star Trek DS9. He was on seasons 5 and 6. Don't you remember? And I'm all like, no. Was he played by Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelly, William Shatner? No, then no. No, that's hilarious. Jack, did you see that? I'm not making fun of you. That's funny. Patrick Stewart, he never gets old, and he was bald from birth. That describes Patrick Stewart to a T. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And on again, not laughing at you, brother. Laughing with you. We some of the old RPG stuff we talk about on the show is classic, classic Star Trek RPG. Yeah, you know the face palm meme with him in it, right? That's right. We're grognard culture. Yeah, yeah. I read you, man. So there it is. Yes, there is an actual. Oh, come on. An actual Star Trek role playing game. I tell you, if you're interested, go buy a copy. You can't. Jack Photon bought all of them. I'm just giving a brief. He was mentioning he's got like 9 copies of Star Trek: The Role Playing Game or something. That's how it is. I didn't pick the grognard life; it picked me. Same. Well, I just got to say, FASA, CPG, FASA. This is awesome. It's really nice to have somebody the Vader no meme. Hey, some memes never die, man. Some memes never die. But no, it's great to have great to have someone from beautiful Poland here in the audience. I think that's lovely. I think that's wonderful. Now, here's a little factoid. Now, I know Anon already knows this, but I'm going to tell you guys this. No shit, guys. There's a desert in Poland. I am not making it up. That's not like a wind up like you're yeah, just follow this link and then you get rickrolled. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm going to murder this name, and I apologize for this because your English is better than my Polish. But is it the Bledau Desert? Blidna. There's a link. You guys can check it out. You know what? We have the technology. Let's just look at this. It's not on the Twilight 2000 map, but it is now. It's on mine. So it's an area of sands between these places that it says here in the text, because again, I don't want to murder your beautiful language. It's in the Silesian Highlands in the Lesser Poland Voivodeship. It's Central Europe's largest accumulation of loose sand in an area away from any sea, deposited thousands of years ago by a melting glacier, 32 square kilometers. It wasn't created naturally, but as a result of human activity, which lowered the water table to such a degree that the ground could no longer support plant life. It's used as a military proving ground at the beginning of the 20th century during the Second World War. The Africa Corps was used to train soldiers and test equipment before deployment. Military exercises continue in the area, including an airborne assault operation involving U.S., Canadian, and Polish forces in 2014. So check that out, guys, right there. Your eyes do not deceive you. That is a desert right smack dab in the middle of beautiful Poland. But check that out. And that reminds me, kind of in a strange way, because this is how my brain works. Uh, I can't remember the album by Motorhead. Let me see. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's Ace of Spades. So I can find a picture of the cover. This is probably not going to. This is probably a lot more believable, but yeah, they're not like in Arizona or California or any. That's like a dirt pile near the studio, their recording studio in England. So there is nothing about that that's Old West. Yeah, Lemmy passed away just before the awful year 2016, when it seems like every other. I mean, we lost Prince, we lost Tom Petty, so many talented people. Well, Lemmy passed away in December in 2015. Sometimes your country works against natural rule. Yeah, it was that long ago, Death Angels. Bowie. Motorhead was on Letterman. I remember when Motorhead performed on Letterman. That's a bunch of petty shows. I saw him once. I saw him once. I saw Rush. I saw Rush a couple of times. That was good. Gosh, so many shows. I saw Pink Floyd was the first concert I ever went to. What kind of music you liking on? But yeah, I mean, I've seen, two of the three great head bands. If you were of a certain age, from the mid 1970s to the mid 1980s, Rush, Zeppelin, and Floyd, right? Well, I've seen, missed out on Zeppelin, by just a few years. But it was Rush, Zeppelin, and Floyd. Yeah, Mike introducing Motorhead and the young ones by saying, "We've got 2 minutes to get to the station. Music!" And then they just blast into Ace of Spades. Oh, yeah, I should have thrown Sabbath in there too. Although, I mean, Sabbath's more of a metal band. There's so many great Motorhead songs. I mean, Ace, just setting aside Ace of Spades, March or Die, Orgasmatron, Killed by Death. I mean, no, it's fine, my dude. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. That Emery is a heck of a lineup. I tell you, you want to see something fun? Check out on YouTube, Motorhead, Ace of Spades, Mad Max. A guy edited a music video together with clips out of the various Mad Max films. At that point, it was just Mad Max, Road Warrior, and Beyond Thunderdome to Ace of Spades. And it's mwah, it's just fantastic. What is my opinion of the final cut? It is an amazing Roger Waters album. It is an amazing Roger Waters album. Now, when I was a kid, I was strongly of the opinion that Roger Waters was a big meanie and a jerk and broke Pink Floyd up for no reason except his own ego and so on. And I still kind of think that, actually. But so I was very deep in the Gilmore Wright Mason camp. But I'm gonna say this about Kabuki. That answers so many questions. So many questions. So to the topic of Pink Floyd. Apparently a lot of the final cut was material that that Waters wanted to include on the wall. And they kind of talked him down off the roof. Heck yeah. I used to go to Pink Floyd shows and used to go to Metallica shows at the John Young. But apparently one of the more heated discussions over the pre-production for the final cut was when they were talking about the track layout and who was going to do what. That Gilmore looked at Waters and said, "Roger, it was shit when we were recording The Wall. It's shit now." Hey, PML, what's going on, my friend? So I don't know if that's true or not. When I was a kid, man, I was over the moon with that album, with Final Cut. In the mini movie, which you can find on YouTube, by the way, that came out with it. Stonehenge. Hundreds of years ago, before recorded history, lived the Druids. Nobody knows who they were or where they came from. I tell you what, when that saxophone kicks in, on the final cut, that is, oof, that gets you. Oh, how they danced the elves of Stonehenge. Look, you said 10 inches. All right, and how was the coffee? Back with coffee, excellent. It's late night here. It's like 12:30. Yeah, 12:30. Um, I think okay. So my opinion on the D&D cartoon is this. It's good fun, and it's nice to see representation of D&D stuff where they're not like, oh, this isn't D&D. It's straight up Dungeons and Dragons, right? The kids know they're in a fantasy campaign world. That said, I mean, there are some liberties taken, like, hey, here's a first level group of adventurers. Here's Tiamat. Holy crap. Um, so I don't dislike it. I mean, just watch it with an open mind. Watch at least 5 or 6 episodes of the first season with an open mind, and make your decision about it. Stupid pet tricks. Letterman-esque stupid pet tricks for this show would be. I mean, you guys have seen my cat, my wife's cat walk back and forth in front of the camera and climb up on my lap and stuff during shows. And Zeus, at his age, just kind of wants to lie down and have snacks. To be fair, there was so much of an uproar over violence in cartoons. Apparently, like the G.I. Joe cartoon and He-Man just drove parents groups insane. And Thundar the Barbarian, they were just like, hey, he's stabbing people with this. It's like he never, like the one time you ever saw him use his sword against someone, it was a robot. Oh, that sucks. Dirty History and Hobbies. Um, YouTube. Just you can find episodes of it on YouTube. PML. You can get it on DVD too. I mean, if you really want it, I think it's on Amazon or maybe Netflix. But yeah, so I mean, Hank never did anything with his bow other than like, I shoot this arrow and it wraps energy bands around the giant's legs and he falls over. Bobby would hit the ground with his club to cause things, but never, hit a cave wall, cause a cave in, stop. But yeah, no, there was, Presto's magic hat was just, various stupid effects. But so I understand, yeah, Gary very much wanted them to have swords and actual bows and things like that. And they're like, no, we can't. Hey, thank you, Anand. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's really swell of you, dude. That's really righteous, man. Thank you so much. And by the way, Anon, the end credits of the show, because this show has end credits. When they roll up, not tonight because I can't edit it live, but from here on, as long as you stay a Patreon, I thank my patrons in the end credits. So you're in the end credits, my friend. Thank you. That is really decent of you, dude. And I tell you what, man, I can't promise you that the translation will be any good. But since you are at the Patreon level for the equivalent of $10, actually 10 euros is like 12 or $13. I will, if you would like the Dungeons and Dragons adventure module that I send out, I will run through Google Translate and translate from English to Polish for you. If you'd like that, I will do that for you. You don't need translation. Okay. Then the English version you shall get. That you shall absolutely get. Excellent. That is wonderful. Well, PML, it's not periodically, it's every month. Every month, basically. It's a subscription. Yeah, no, I feel you on translations. Sometimes I'll find like a super interesting document. Like there have been some out of the current unrest in southwestern Russia with their close neighbor, which is also a neighboring country to you. And people are like, hey, check out these leaked documents from Russian soldiers. I'm like, cool. It's all in Russian. So I got to copy and paste it into Google Translate. And like some of the translations, I'm just like, they walked the truck to the bomb. I'm like, what? Wait. And then I kind of take that phrase out of context in Russian and then put it back through. And it's like mobile surface to air launcher, so it's. Yeah, no, hey, no argument from me there, Anon. But that's what we're here for. Is like we just kind of shut the world out and we just talk about nerdy stuff and music and booze and so on and etc. Except for Australians, they're universally scum. I mean, why we tolerate their existence is beyond me. That's a joke. My Wednesday night co-host is Australian. Wave is Australian. I think Local Gumby is Australian. What's up with you, Zachary Melvin? What's going on? You working tonight? Hypercam says, machine translation gets really bad when you have languages with very different origins between English and Japanese. You can move one phrase back and forth 4 times and get it. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. That is so true. And like the context of the phrase, like I was saying, I had to take that weird phrase out of the Russian and just it alone and put it through the translator, and I got completely different words because it was the context of how the machine translator was perceiving what was being said. You shouldn't translate me, Johnny. My father tried to translate me once. Once. That is a deep nerdy reference. What is my favorite? Tabletop RPGs and solo. You know, okay. Do the Steve Jackson sorcery books and the fighting fantasy books, do they count as tabletop RPGs? Because they had, I mean, the stat gens, hit points, all that jazz are in those. If that counts as a tabletop RPG, then those. Then those. Oh, you work on the border. Wow. That's fascinating. Okay, then if those count, hands down those. I've got over here I've got Starship Traveler and City of Thieves. Now, I don't count Choose Your Own Adventure books because when you say role-playing game, I think they do. I think they do, Mike. I'm a big hit late at night, Vaughn. Not so much the super chats, but you know, I do what I can. Yeah, City of Thieves. City of Thieves is a really damn fine fighting fantasy by Ian Livingstone. I do have a copy of The Warlock of Firetop Mountain. It's just not over here. So I have 1, 4, and 5, and I thought I had the Wizardry books over here. Anon, did you guys have Choose Your Own Adventure books over there in Poland? Like, if you go up the left hallway to talk to the elf, turn to page 33. If you go down the right hallway to punch the orc, turn to page 105. Did you guys do that? No, we're talking pen and paper. Like randomized through dice rolls. Well, brownish, greenish, yellowish. Orc colored, you know. Oh, okay. Oh, here they are. Here they are. I need to move the very expensive piece of lead. I have an original Grenadier. It's called a Spirit Dragon. It is there. It is the Grenadier Tiamat. But of course they and TSR parted ways. They still could have called it Tiamat. Tiamat is the name of a Sumerian deity. Yeah, here we go. I have 1 and 3, and I wish I had more. But these are the Steve Jackson sorcery books. And they're a series. There's 5 of these. And you play a character all the way through them. You're on a quest. There are multiple branches of different different paths you can go down and still arrive at win conditions in the books. But you could also miss important items or information that might be helpful in later books. There's it used to be you'd buy this, and if you wanted to play a magic user, you had to buy the spell book, but then later they actually included the spell books in the back. But we were talking about dice and randomization. At the bottom, this book used 2d6, but at the bottom of each page, because, dice might not be a thing, you could just flip and stop and then look at whatever the die roll was, and it would randomly. Tiamat, Bahamut, yeah. I mean, Marduk, the Sumerian god Marduk, was opposed to Tiamat and fought her in Sumerian and Babylonian myth. Yeah, Tiamat was. Let me see. What? All right, let's check this out. Yeah, cons would do spinners, or another thing was like so a pencil is hexagonal, so literally just number the sides of a pencil and roll it. But of course, that's D6. But so here's Tiamat. In Mesopotamian religion, Tiamat is a primordial goddess of the sea, mating with Abzu, the god of groundwater, to produce the younger gods. She is a symbol of the chaos of primordial creation. She is referred to as a woman and described as the glistening one. It is suggested there are two parts to the Tiamat mythos. First, she is a creator goddess through a sacred marriage between different waters, peacefully creating the cosmos through successive generations. In the second, Chaos Kampf, Tiamat is considered the monstrous embodiment of primordial chaos. Some sources identify her with images of a sea serpent or a dragon, which is probably where Gary, took that from. No, Endless Quest books were put out by TSR. And Choose Your Own Adventure was a completely separate company, and they came well before TSR was doing their own. In fact, Rose Estes had to go to TSR and say, hey, I think this could be a successful thing. And I'm trying to remember who it was at TSR that basically said, this is going to have to be something you work on yourself, because I don't think it's going to make money. And so she wrote the book. It tested exceptionally well. They printed it. And it was it this one? Is that the first one? I can't remember if Mountains of Mirrors. I think, was it Pillars of Pentagon was the first one? I don't remember, but basically, and I do have some of the one-on-one adventure books. I have the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser one-on-one adventure books, which I would love to get autographed by Jim Ward, because he did these. So here's some, I got to share this with you guys. So I have here the 1974 issue of Children's Digest, and this is actually very, very cool and very interesting. So dig this artwork, if you guys can see that well enough. You'll note that looks a lot like the artwork from the 1978 animated version of The Hobbit. The producers fell in love with the illustrations in this 1974 Children's Digest. And so that's why the art in The Hobbit looks the way it does. They modeled it on the artwork because the chapter Riddles in the Dark from The Hobbit is in this book all the way back in 74. They saw it, they liked it, and they acquired it. So that is why the Hobbit art is so distinctive. I have the album. It just, I don't know, some company. If you're talking about the Children's Digest, it was a publication that came out in the 60s and 70s. Oh man, I have kind of wandered all over the place. We were talking about Choose Your Own Adventure books. Yeah, Choose Your Own Adventure is its own brand. Endless Quest was TSR. There was Find Your Fate. I got some real, just like not well written, as in story compulsion, but it was like a box set with like 6 of them. I got for Christmas one year, and I had to pretend to be excited about those. Yeah, Tolkien flip-flopped on Orcs and Goblins. I am currently in the middle of my winter reread of The Lord of the Rings right now. The company, now 8, have just left Lorien, so the Fellowship is about to be broken. It's funny how quick it seems to go from, I mean, reading it now, when I was a kid, like the journey from Cahardras to Moria, and then from Moria into like the journey through Moria, like Cahardras to Moria to Lorien in The Lord of the Rings when I was a kid, that in my head felt like just an epic journey. And I think I got through it in like an hour and a half of just straight reading. It made me sad. There's a solid 29 of you guys hanging out with me at almost 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday. And that makes me happy. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Tomorrow being the 2nd. I wish I had an extension cord. I would plug in my the first of my Christmas lights. Tomorrow, I'm going to have my whole office here decorated up for Christmas. I'm going to do that during the day. 10, yeah, for Jack, he's like, it's 10 p.m. The Hobbit took me weeks to read when I was a kid. I read it, I think, when I was, well, I read it after the cartoon came out, and the cartoon came out in 77, 35, 78. Anyway, whenever it came out, my aunt gave me that lovely Ballantine Books, the gold slipcase with The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings in it in 4 separate paperbacks. Well, they loaned me, they gave me a copy of The Hobbit first, which I proceeded to read. And such an adventure. And I remember that cold fall of the year in Alabama, reading that during the winter, snuggled up in a blanket in my bedroom and just reading and reading and reading and reading. And I didn't want to put it down. And it would rain in the fall in that part of the country. And I can imagine out in the trees and stuff out behind our house and so on, Bilbo and the dwarves in that miserable pouring rain and their encounter with the trolls. Right on and on. Emery just bringing the Tiamat knowledge for us. Oh, thank you, Death Angels. Yeah, happy end of hurricane season. Legolas and Aragorn shot glass is nice. Anyway, we're probably going to wrap up at the top of the hour. So if you guys have got any questions for me, hit me with those, and I will do my level best to answer them. I wonder if part of the washed out look I have isn't because of these monitors. I have white monitors shining up on my face. You know, let's just go with like a dark mode theme for everything. Well, thank you for not wanting to hit me, Death Angels. 42, Kabuki, 42. Very easy. No, thank you guys for staying up late with me. 1991 Soviet production of Lord of the Rings. No, I have not. I've heard of it, but I have not seen it. Oh, Dungeons. Oh, hi, RPG Grandma. Who I now have firmly associated with that AI image that we were looking at on Wednesday. So that's now in my head forever. Thank you. Yes, the first edition of The Hobbit had Bilbo. Basically, Bilbo won the riddle challenge, and Gollum was kind of, crap. Okay, you beat me. I'll show you out. And then amicably shows him out. Well, Anon, I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you the November module. I can flex like that. I was answering some. Oh, yeah. Okay. So the worst rendition of The Hobbit, do not. The worst rendition of The Hobbit you can see is, without a doubt, the Gene Ditch or however you say it, animated version from the 1960s. Yes, such a thing exists. Don't. It was animated by the guy who made arguably the worst Tom and Jerry cartoons ever. Communist bloc Tom and Jerry cartoons. I'm not just saying that. They were actually the all of the bad, the terrible Tom and Jerry cartoons. You know the one I'm talking about. They were creepy. They were cursed. Were made by Gene Deitch. And the sound effects like creeped me out when I was a kid. Yeah, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was god awful. The Infocom game. I mean, it was funny, and if you'd read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's like, oh yeah, it's I understood that reference. Many Soviet or post-Soviet cartoon. Well, I mean, he went. So I want to say they were made in Czechoslovakia. I feel like that's where they were made, but yeah, he just said, "Oh, I'm going to make cartoons." He worked for MGM. The guy was an American, and he said, "Well, I'm going to move. I'm going to get a team of animators, and we'll do it." It was just they were regarded as strange and off-putting. Like if you grew up with like the great MGM Tom and Jerry cartoons of the 40s and 50s, those are later 50s, and they are unsettling. They're cursed. Ah, thank you, Derek. Yes, Anon. It is like it is like a parody version of Tom and Jerry made in hell. That is exactly right. But you know what they say? In Zagreb Ibn Zlotny Dieb. I am not. I don't know if that was directed at me. So. But they only say that if you buy your car at Crazy Vaclav's Place of Autos. What country was this made in? It no longer exists. It will go 200 hectares on a liter of kerosene. Put it in H. You guys know the skit I'm talking about. The Rankin Bass Hobbit cartoon is glorious. The Rankin Bass Hobbit cartoon. I mean, I was talking about this on Twitter because it was just a few nights ago that it premiered 35 years in the past. Yes, Worker and Parasite. Yeah, that's unfortunately very true, Anon. That comes from living inside a country where you can drive for days and still be inside the country. To be fair, though, I've seen like people from other countries trying to figure out American geography. Like, where's Georgia? Where's New York City? And they're just like pointing, at random spots. Like, see, it's not so easy. But no, it was 35 years ago, and we talked about game building stuff seems cool. Yeah, definitely, Michael. The older I get, I think the more energy saving stuff is going to be better. Fat people who try to control the world. Well, it's fat people everywhere trying to control the world, not just in the United States, but we do have kind of a corner market on it somewhat here and on. But anyway, to go back to the Hobbit, the one from '78, man, just that like sparked something in my brain. And when I read The Hobbit, I was like, you mean there's more books and stuff like this? And then just a few years later, just like 2 or 3 years later, when I got my hands on Dungeons and Dragons, it was just like, I have found my place. I don't know. I can appreciate what Ralph Bakshi was trying to do. I really can. And I don't want to. I really appreciate a lot of what Bakshi's done. And I get it that he wanted to make a complete Lord of the Rings duology. But like the stuff with the rotoscoping and Viking Boromir in a furry miniskirt and American Indian Aragorn. I'm just like, dude, what even? What even? Rotoscoping is when you basically you film something, Vaughn, and then you project the film image onto a tracing plate and you trace animation cells. Heavy metal is phenomenal. I love heavy metal. Can we call you RPG Tarna? RPG Grandma? I'll tell you one, probably a good percentage of you guys don't know. Good evening, Ian. Good evening. Just in as we're probably coming in for a landing. But Rock and Rule. Rock and Rule. R-U-L-E. Rock and Rule. Rock and Rule is wonderful. I love it. I recommend you go find it. Oh yeah. Since the like first experiments with animation was rotoscoping. Sorry, I'm just reading y'all's comments. Yeah. Just great stuff. There was Fire and Ice. If you like that one, Fire and Ice, you can check that out. I think that one's on YouTube. You can probably find Fire and Ice on YouTube. There was a run from like the early 70s to the mid 80s. There was a hell of a run of adult animation in the States that was really, really good. Wizards, rock and roll, Lord of the Rings, heavy metal, American pop. I'm sure I'm missing a few. They were mostly Bakshi. Fire and Ice, again, Bakshi. No, not that Fire and Ice. That is correct, Emery. Topcraft came out of Studio Ghibli came out of Topcraft because Topcraft was bankrupted by the time they came around to do Return of the King. It was too expensive for them to do. They did it, they fulfilled it, and then they imploded. So. But anyway, it's a shame we're sitting at 30 viewers and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Biggest super gets me to stick around for a little bit longer. 31 of you guys out in chat, you crazy people. You absolute mad lads and lasses. Well, thank you. One thing I can tell you, when it comes to rotoscoping, one thing I thought it was exceptionally quiet, RPG Grandma. One thing that I thought it was exceptionally well done is I cannot shout how good this is Exordium. It's a very short, hyper violent, it's like 1970s. It's that same Fire and Ice, heavy metal, rock and roll level of animation. It's on YouTube, and they got a full length, like 90-minute picture with it too. So I do recommend you check it out. It's the Spine of Night and Exordium. Watch Exordium. It's 6 or 7 minutes of your time. Very well spent. Badass soundtrack. Death Angels. Thank you, Death Angels. Thank you for the super. That's... No, a Lincoln is 5. Jefferson is 2. Rock and Roll and Fire and Ice, a lot of this stuff is a mess. Well, Rock and Roll was Nelvana. Nelvana did one semi-adult and one adult cartoon, and then they imploded, and went on to just do family-friendly affair. But Rock and Roll was Nelvana, and they were going for a very serious vibe. They had some early computer work, some early computer graphics in Rock and Roll, and it was extremely expensive, and the music licensing and everything. And then it didn't do well in theaters, but they said, I bet it's going to be a huge hit on VHS and video disc and everything else. And then they had a massive fire. So yeah, it wasn't available for a long time because they couldn't strike new copies of it. They only had film copies to go on, and didn't. It wasn't until the advent of DVD and digital retouching and stuff that our decent, good, clean copy could be re-released. That and the music issue. Rock and Roll, Michael. Rock and Roll is it's almost, it is a post-apocalypse cyberpunk fantasy sci-fi with a lot of rock and roll. It's got music by Lou Reed, Cheap Trick, is it the Commodores? No, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Debbie Harry, right on and on. That's fun. We reach, brother. We reach. Iggy Pop. Thank you, Derek. Iggy Pop is in there too. Ah, that's sweet, man. C64. I mean, you're not wrong, Kabuki. They're I'll say this, they're not creepy furries. If I didn't tell you the majority of the characters, you would think were just people with some interesting character designs. He's no Herbert. We reach, Jack. We reach. Okay, Emery, I guess that's one way to put it. Yes, he is. She can sing or she can scream, but she still pissed me off. Does Roger... Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty grown-up film. I think you would say that it's a grown-up film at this point. I mean, you know, there's a lot of TNA jokes, very violent. Look, I was not one of the, like, I see this all the time in my feed, like, you know, if you were a Gen X kid, this screwed you up. I'm like, and there's pictures of the kid trying to pull the horse out of the swamp. That never, it's just a movie. And the other one from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, when, like, he's going to put the shoes in the dip, or when he pulls his, you know, it turns out he's a toon and he's got the big bulging red eyes. That didn't permanently screw me up. I couldn't be permanently screwed up because when I was 6 years old, my cousin Kathy showed up and read the Amityville Horror to me and my sister. Excuse me, Kim. Sorry, Kathy. Kim read the Amityville Horror to me and my sister. I was 6 at the time. And the cover of the book said it was true, and all the shit went down in a creepy house. And we lived in a creepy old house. Yeah. Yeah. A sad scene in the Never-Ending Story, and stuff that was no harsher than what you would have seen in a Looney Tune cartoon did not mess me up. It was Jay Anson's The Amityville Freaking Horror. Speaking of cartoons, I thought this was interesting. In Disney's Hercules, as we were talking about Pink Floyd earlier, right? Okay. This was an interesting and kind of trippy thing. The guy who did the visual design for the gatefold cover for The Wall which were later used for animated pieces and for the big inflatable things at the concerts when Pink Floyd was touring for the Wall. That cat's name was Gerald Scaraff. He was an American-born satirical cartoonist. Political cartoonist. He was the visual design production lead on Hercules, the Disney animated Hercules. Pull up Hercules if you got Disney Plus or something. Pull up Hercules, and if you pause certain scenes and open your copy of The Wall, look at the gatefold. You see it. You'll see it. You can't unsee it. You cannot unsee it. That's not the. That's the link to that desert in Poland again. That's not the link. That's fine, man. Hey, you got Dark Side of the Moon. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter if it's Polish, Ukrainian, Outer Mongolian. Dark Side of the Moon with Mongolian throat singers would be awesome. I'm just saying. Roger, Dave, if you're listening, you can make it happen. No, I don't have any. Let me see. There it is. I don't understand. Help me understand. There's the Discord link. Last time I'm going to put it up there. 34! Good night! I can't go now. There's 34. There's 34 of you guys. Animals is a vastly underrated Pink Floyd album. It is a lean, cold album. Yes, Dogs is a very long tune. But when it comes to sound, I'll stack it up against any of the early punk stuff from the 70s. As vinyl copy for we have legal company who makes vinyl discs. Well, I got you. Yeah, no, I follow you, Anon. Now, I didn't know this. Okay. To my knowledge, and I'm sure somebody's going to jump in and say, well, no, there's this, and this, because that's what you guys do. ACB72. To my knowledge, there are two albums. There are two albums that fully utilized the unique nature of 8-track tape. And you got more content on an 8-track than you did on vinyl, cassette, or even compact disc. One is Lou Reed's Metal Machine Music. We were just talking about Lou Reed a few minutes ago. Metal Machine Music was a Lou Reed album. It was a noise album. And it is meant to be an infinite loop. And so when you get to the last track on the 8th track of an 8-track, and it automatically bumps up back to the first one, it goes right back to that. I suppose you could do it with The Wall. Because The Wall starts off with someone very faintly saying, "We came in." And it ends with that same person saying, "Isn't this where?" Oh, tubular bells. I love tubular bells. Um, so the 8-track version of Animals has a similar bridging track that appeared nowhere else on any other releases, to the best of my knowledge. It's only on the 8-track. Very trippy. So welcome you additional people who've piled on now. And I was like, oh, it's 28. Fewer people on. I guess I can just kind of ease on out of here. Nope. By the way, I just want to mention this. We are currently at, and if you just come to hang out with us and you haven't already, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. We're now at 5,091 subscribers. Subscribers have been weird, and I absolutely accept. Yeah, they had some neat things about him, Keg Crusher. I honestly don't know, Jack. Like I said, you guys would probably be flying at me from different directions saying, oh, this changes and that changes. On 8 tracks from other bands too. But yeah, the subs have been kind of doing that weird bouncy thing between like last week it was between like 5,080 and 5,085, and like it would never settle. And then we finally got over the hump, 5,085, 86, 87, and then it would drop back down to 85. And today it's like slowly bounced up. It was like 89, 87, 89, and it's finally. So I don't know if it's YouTube kicking people off, bots, bot followers, if people just don't like the stuff, and people do like the stuff. And if I had better stuff and could retain those folks, I would already be well over 5,100. I don't know. It is what it is, but I'm not going to dwell on it because I know you guys don't really want to hear. But we're at 5,091 subscribers as of right this minute. And I'm very happy about that. Guys, I remember when I was at like 475, and like a week would go by and I'd pick up one subscriber and I'd be like, hey, we're 476. That's awesome. So I don't look down. I don't discount a single subscriber. Or at least I try not to. I know a lot of you guys have come from my rants about Wizards of the Coast. I know a lot of you guys have come. I know a lot of you guys have been here like forever. You were here in the 400 subscriber days, in the 200 subscriber days. And there's one or two people I get every now and again. They're like, hey, I caught such and such video. And I'm like, oh, holy crap. Yeah, you were subscribed back when I had like 10. I can't make my metrics. I can't tweak my metrics down fine enough to see like what day I went from 9 to 10 and from 10 to 20 and so on and etc. Yes, you all pay the same, Jack. Thank you, I think, Anon, if I'm understanding you correct. And I'm glad you guys want to be here. I'm glad you guys want to be here. I know you're next. And you know, that's, I love reaching folks who are like introducing younger folks to old D&D. So, I mean, when my generation's gone, you know, us Gen Xers, who's going to carry that torch? Who's gonna care about Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson and you know, a little white box that you bought mail order from Wisconsin and being accused of being a devil worshiper? You know, who's gonna do that? Well, if you get that if you get that sorted out, Death Angels, let us all know. I want to see something here. Can I do this without causing a disaster? It's December 1st, guys. Y'all hang on a second. I'll be right back. I know I said I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to close down at the top of the hour, but I mean, shit, that's not happening. So wait right here. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let's do this. Let us begin. Hang on a second. I gotta scoot around. Because it's the time. It is time. Just what I needed over here. Another cord. Another electrical cord. There we go. I don't think it matters, does it? Let's see. There we go. Got the holiday lights up, guys. Happy holidays to you. Because it's December the 1st. Like I said, I'm gonna have some more lights up tomorrow. But we happy few who happen to be here at this insane hour of night. Hey, Dungeon Minister. Hey, welcome, Padre. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, there's going to be an advent calendar this year. The first one is tomorrow. In fact, that's right, guys. Don't miss it. It's going to be a pre-recorded video. It's not going to be part of the live stream. But we start the Dice Advent calendar tomorrow. That's going to be cool. Short little pre-recorded video. Dungeon Minister editing. Look at the big man with his editing. So yeah, we're gonna open that up tomorrow. We're gonna have that, but it's good to see you, Dungeon Minister. It really is, brother, Father. But like I said, I'll have some decorations up. We'll have the Advent calendar. I will link on the Discord. Oh, speak of the kitty cat, there she is. We will have musical Christmas Advent. I share this now. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I'm Twitter at @A_Dungeon Delver. I'm on YouTube, B Sylvie. Twitter, rather. One more time, Facebook, B Sylvie. But if you follow me those places and or on the Discord, I will be doing the Christmas, the Christmas musical Advent, when I share one song a day of my favorite Christmas tracks, and it's legit Christmas stuff. I mean, you might get me every once in a while to play something a little goofy, but I prefer, like, don't tell me to play the Gorguts version of the first Noel or something like that. No, it's you're going to get Gen X lounge standards. In other words, the stuff from the 60s that our parents made us listen to when we were kids in the 70s. Okay. For the most part. I might throw in, to Tom Petty Christmas All Over Again. That's a great track. But we'll get to that. Yeah, a nod. Fine. That's just for Anon. The rest of you who missed the link, avert your gaze. I have never done a review of the Dungeons of the Ground Goblins. I have not, Praxis. Sorry. David Bowie and Bing Crosby. Y'all consider yourselves lucky if you don't like it that I don't just post up the entirety of "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" by the Ray Conniff Singers. Now that's some fine Christmas rendition. But Steel Eye Span, Gaudete, The Holly and the Ivy. Man, fantastic stuff. Little Dean Martin in there. All amazing stuff. And I'm going to share all that with you. Not Jingle Bell Rock. Nope, I can't do it. I can't. I'm sorry. Recent loot. Well, here's the thing. Christmas Wrapping is a lovely song too. Hey, Collecting Chaos. Thank you for hanging out with us, brother. Have a good night. All of the loot that no. Okay, to be fair, no, I was about to step in it. So yes, Kabuki, I will show some of it off. I was about to say, all the loot I got is stuff I've done deep dives on before. I've never deep dived 2E, and I got like 3 second edition things. I got an orange copy of Tegel Manor. I do have a lot of stuff to deep dive, and I can deep dive that with you guys. Thank you for stopping by, Dungeon Minister. Rest well, Father. Have a lovely evening. Guys, my batteries are starting to run out. It's like, when you got kind of a wonky phone that you haven't put a replacement battery in a long time, and it's like, hey, it only took like 20 minutes to charge up to 100%, and I've been watching YouTube for an hour now, and it's only at 60%, and then it like rockets down to like 18% in the next 10 minutes of watching. That's kind of where I am. I've rocketed down to 18%. So I think we're probably gonna wrap it up. But guys, listen, thank you all for being here tonight. Love you. Mean it. Have a wonderful evening. Tomorrow night, we're going to be live again. We're going to be playing some classic Gamma World. That may be a little too early in the morning for you, Anon. But I will do a short, in the day, I will do a Dice Advent Calendar short video, not a YouTube short, but just a short video showing it off for you guys. And Wizard Man, that's me. So yeah, y'all take care, and I'll see you around. And of course, it is winter, and so you got to be careful when you're crunching around out in the snow. Oh, adventurers, and keep your eyes peeled for the dreaded owl bear. Good night. Take care.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.